So you're looking at furnished apartments in Dhaka. Whether you're a renter trying to figure out if you're getting a good deal, or an owner who wants to attract the best tenants, you're in the right place. We're going to break down everything you need to know about this booming market.
You know, the idea is so appealing, isn't it? Just walk into a new apartment, drop your bags, and you're home. No fuss, no hassle. But, and this is the big question, does that convenience come at a cost that's just too high? Are you actually getting a great deal, or are you overpaying for the ease of it all?
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll dive into why this market is growing so fast. Then, we'll get into the numbers, what that rent premium really looks like. We'll talk about the number one rule, location. Then we'll look at who's renting, what makes a rental a success, and finally, we'll wrap it all up with the key takeaways.
So let's kick things off with the why. Why has this idea of furnished apartments suddenly become so popular? In Dhaka, honestly, it boils down to one simple word: simplicity. In a city as hectic as Dhaka, a hassle-free option is a really big deal. Think about it. For anyone with a busy schedule, skipping the entire headache of buying furniture, setting up Wi-Fi, dealing with movers, it's a massive, massive time saver. You literally just get your keys, walk in, and you can start living. That's a powerful promise. Okay, but that hassle-free lifestyle, it definitely comes with a price tag. So now let's pull back the curtain and decode that premium. Let's find out what that convenience is actually costing you. And we are not talking about a small jump in price here. The data shows you could be paying anywhere from 20 to a whopping 50% more for a furnished apartment compared to a similar unfurnished one. That's significant. You can really see the difference on this chart. It's a substantial premium. And it's so important to realize you're not just renting a couch and a bed. You're essentially paying to completely avoid the logistical nightmare of setting up a home from scratch. So really, this whole market is built on a very simple trade-off. As a tenant, you trade your money to save a whole lot of time and effort. And for landlords, well, it's a chance to earn a much higher return on their property. But there's a catch. It only really pays off if the place is managed flawlessly.
But here's the thing. That extra rent, it's not guaranteed. Not all furnished apartments are created equal, because there is one factor that overrules everything else when it comes to setting the price and keeping that apartment occupied.
You could have the most beautiful designer furniture, the perfect decor, but it won't mean a thing if the apartment is in the wrong part of town. As one expert we looked at put it, no matter how well an apartment is decorated, location remains the biggest factor. It's still the undisputed king in real estate.
And in Dhaka, the right part of town really means the city's main economic and social centers. We're talking about areas like Gulshan, Banani, Bashundhara residential area, and certain parts of Dhanmondi. These are the places that consistently pull in the highest rent and have the fewest empty nights.
Okay, so we know where the demand is. The next obvious question is, who is actually renting these places? Let's take a look at the typical renter and the kinds of deals they're looking for. What's really interesting is that the renter profile is super specific. This market is pretty much dominated by corporate professionals, people working for NGOs, and foreign residents. And this is a huge insight, because this group isn't really looking for a bargain. What they want and what they'll pay for is security, reliability, and just pure convenience. So how long are they staying? Well, you might think short-term, high-rate rentals are the way to go, but in Dhaka's furnished market, stability is king. Property owners really prefer long-term leases, usually 6 to 12 months. Yeah, they might get a slightly lower rate per month, but that predictable, steady income is worth so much more than a few empty weeks between tenants.
All right, so you've got the perfect location, and you know exactly who you're renting to. But what else separates a rental that's always in demand from one that's constantly sitting empty? Let's dissect what makes a real winner.
You can pretty much think of this as your cheat sheet for success. The goal isn't just about getting that big rent premium. It's about combining that with an amazing occupancy rate, somewhere between 70 and 95%. And the way you do that is by locking in those longer leases and, crucially, investing in good quality furnishings. And I really can't stress this point about quality enough. There is a huge difference between a room that just has some furniture in it and a space that feels like a real home. Cheap, low-quality setups just create a revolving door of unhappy tenants. Quality furnishings, on the other hand, lead to happy tenants who want to stay. Want to know another secret weapon for a top-tier rental? Make it radically simple. Tenants, especially those from abroad, absolutely love all-inclusive deals. One single payment that covers rent, Wi-Fi, cleaning, all the utilities, it just eliminates a massive source of stress for them.
But maybe, just maybe, the biggest secret of all is this. Tenants care way more about function than they do about fashion. Seriously, before they even think about the color of the couch, they want to know about the essentials. Is there 24/7 security? Is there reliable backup power? And does the elevator actually work? Those things are non-negotiable.
Okay, let's bring it all together. We've covered a ton of information. So here is your final, essential checklist for winning in Dhaka's furnished apartment market. So what's the bottom line? If you're a tenant, do your homework. Compare different places, don't be afraid to negotiate, and get a crystal clear understanding of exactly what's included in your rent. And for owners, remember, your work isn't done when the furniture is delivered. The real profit comes from excellent management and keeping your good tenants happy.
And for anyone who's actively looking right now, especially in a prime area like Bashundhara, our research found that working with a specialized agency can be a game changer. For example, a company called REIT Limited really seems to know this market inside and out. And all of this leaves us with one final thought to chew on. In a market that is built entirely on the promise of convenience, maybe the most valuable thing isn't a fancier sofa or a bigger TV. Maybe the ultimate luxury is just clarity. Simply knowing exactly what you're paying for. In this market, is transparency the new luxury? Thanks for watching.